Good morning, all. Can someone please confirm if my screen is visible to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wait for a minute more and we'll see who else is joining and we'll start. Uh, Meanwhile, people who are not available yesterday, I think all of you guys were, but anyone who was not there yesterday, I hope you guys watched the recording. This recording was made public. I uploaded that and it was available publicly, so you didn't even require any user ID or password. So I hope you have watched that because if you haven't, then you will not understand the practical which we are doing today. Right? Uh, and while others are joining, anyone has any question, any doubt on what we did yesterday based on application gateway? Any doubt, any questions you have?
No, Sohail bhai.
Okay, if there are no questions, we can proceed. We have already waited for 5 minutes. Uh, Yesterday, we checked application gateway in detail. The theory part, we spent whole session on application gateway, right? Apart from because I told you that is a very important topic, a must ask question. They will ask for uh, the differences between load balancer. So load balancer we have already checked, right? Yesterday we did load balancer. We have done the practical and we have done the theory part. Application gateway, yesterday we discussed the theory in detail. Today we are going to do the practical. So people who are not there in yesterday's session and did not watch the recording, it will be difficult for you to understand. So I would request please watch the recording first and then again you will have to either connect the theories or watch this recording again, even if you're attending this today. Right? So these are the differences which you can say in your interview. That load balancer, it works on layer 4, application gateway works on layer 4. Load balancer type, we have internal and public, and then here we have path based. Right? Here we have global, there we have regional. It is recommended for non-HTTP traffic, it is for HTTPS traffic. But what does it mean? What all these terms mean? All this we have seen yesterday, right? कि इसका क्या मतलब है, regional का क्या मतलब है, how can we use a load balancer behind an application gateway? We checked that as well. What is WAF, right? All these details we have seen. What is zone redundancy, right? We have seen all these details. Now let's go ahead and check in your let's do the practical. As I told you guys, I have already created one application gateway because it takes time, right? It takes time. Approximately 30 minutes it takes to get created. So I have already created one, but still I will show you all the options and then I just won't click on create because I have already created one. So let's click here. If you want to create a load balancer, any kind of load balancer, you can simply go to load balancers. Load balancing is a service, and here you get load balancer, which we have already seen, right? Today we are looking at application gateway. We will not do traffic manager and front end. These things you can just read. So two of them we are doing. We have already done load balancer. We have done the theory part of application gateway, and today we are doing the practical. So this is how you can come to load balancing. Click on application gateway. You will see the existing application gateways here, right? To create a new one, please click on create. Once you click on create, you have to select your subscription. Make sure it is in the same subscription wherever your backend machines are. I hope by now you guys know what are backend machines or what is the backend service. Right? You select the resource group. There is no restriction. Your machines can be in certain uh, resource group and application gateway can be in a different resource group. However, for my easiness, uh, better management so I can delete them all together. I am using the same resource group, but there is no technical binding. Right? Then you give the name of application gateway. So I'm giving a name. That is not case sensitive. It doesn't have to be unique, nothing like this. Region, you make sure that we select the same region where our virtual machines are. Though we can use VNet pairing and have it in a different region, but we that is not the practical we are doing today. Whatever we discussed yesterday in our theory part, we are doing the same practical. So we discussed that we are going to have the virtual machines in same region. So I'm selecting the same region, tier, standard tier, and WAF version 2. Now we had standard version 2, WAF and WAF version 2. Luckily, less things for you to read. Standard, it has been deprecated. It's no longer available for new subscriptions, right? So we don't have to worry about it. Though I can select it, mine is old subscription, but we don't have to worry about it. वैसे भी जो कुछ new आता है, we'll always focus on that, right? इसमें everything will be there, whatever was there in standard, but version 2 will have something different. But what we are going to select, we are going to select WAF version 2. WAF will have every feature of standard version 2 plus WAF. What is WAF? WAF is Web Application Firewall. Okay. It's nothing, it's similar to firewall which we have seen. The only difference is that firewall we associated that with a virtual network and it was applicable on all the virtual machines, etc. Now this WAF, Web Application Firewall, it is only associated with this particular application. Is it clear, guys, still here?
Yes.
Rest everything will be same, like creating the policy on application, creating the policy on firewall manager, everything will be same. Even if you go to firewall manager, you will see this policy as well. Because in this case, I have already created. So let me take this opportunity and show it to you. Just give me 1 minute. So if I go here, so if I go to firewall, when you see on firewall, you will see Azure firewalls, firewall policies. So here you can create a policy of your basic firewall. But if you come down here, you'll see web application firewall policies. So even if you're creating over there, you can handle the same policy from firewall manager. So don't forget this one. We have covered this in detail. Okay. So that is what your WAF version 2. If you take WAF, you get your application gateway with web application firewall functionality. But if you don't want firewall, you can simply take standard version 2. You will not be able to take standard or WAF. So either standard version 2 or WAF version 2. In this case, we are going to take WAF version 2. Right? Enable auto scaling. If you guys remember, this is the reason, guys, I'm repeating myself, that if you have not, I see 2 or 3 people who did not attend to yesterday, but they are a part of the session today. So if you haven't attended, you will not understand this, right? Guys, I explained it to you that even if it is a load balancer, uh, or an application gateway, or for that matter, any PaaS service, a server is definitely behind them. We are calling them PaaS, platform as a service. We are calling them serverless, right? It is serverless for us, but in actually there is a server behind it, right? So this is what it is asking, that when you take application gateway, do you need auto scaling? Now I hope after doing virtual machine scale set, you guys understand what is auto scaling. Can anyone tell me what is auto scaling?
So auto scaling will be like if the load increases, should the number of load balancer increase?
Simple,
Like
yes.
in VM it was that if the
Simple,
load
yes, yes,
increases, the
that's correct.
instance of VM increase.
That's correct. Perfect. But here it will not increase the number of load balancers or application gateway. Let's say this is your application gateway. I'm just quoting a rough figure. Don't quote me on the numbers. So application gateway, it's good enough for 1,000 users. Normally it is 1,000, but still we are not quoting the numbers. Okay. And here at the backend, I have my backend machines or app service or whatever I want. Because I'm using application gateway, so I can have VMSs, virtual machines, and I can also have app services, right? So this is the backend. Here we are not talking of the capacity of your virtual machines or the backend machines. This is your backend. I'm not talking about this capacity. Now, if 1,000 users are hitting here on application gateway, this application gateway also have a capacity, a limit, right? If this is made for 1,000 and let's say some video went viral, some ad went viral, and suddenly I have enough traffic, right? Some news went viral for famous reason, whatever reason, my application is now getting more than expected traffic. So there was one application gateway and it was sufficient enough for 1,000 users, but now today I'm getting 5,000 users. So my application gateway will crash and my website will not work if there is no auto scaling. And we do not have this concept in load balancer. This is also one of the differences, guys. See, this is the reason I told you that these differences are generic. If you can read it, they will understand this is you have taken from Microsoft, but these are the differences which I have been telling you since yesterday. These are the differences which you learn while practicing. So make sure you make note of them, remember them, say that in your own words, however you want to, but please make a note of them. Right? So auto scaling, it's one of the features in application gateway which we don't get in load balancer. So what is auto scaling? One application uh, gateway which is handling my all request here, right? So this application gateway, what did I tell you? Be it application gateway or load balancer, ultimately this is also working on a server. Now we don't know what kind of server it is. It is Windows, Linux, what kind of services are you using? Though I did show it to you yesterday. What could be the nearest guess? It can be a Microsoft machine in load balancing fail overload cluster service. It could be, but we don't have that information. No one will ask you. You don't have to worry about it. Right? But this application gateway also working on a particular server. So those server numbers that if my traffic increases, that number should increase. Now we are not giving a specific details here कि कितना percentage पे होना चाहिए, that we don't have to worry. Who will take care of it? Microsoft will take care of it. Why? Because this is a PaaS service. Your application gateway is a platform as a service. Got it, guys? Is it clear till here?
Yes.
Yes, guys. What about others? People who were there yesterday? Prabhat, Munir,
Yes.
Sunil,
Yeah,
is
it
it
Yes.
is
clear?
clear.
Yeah.
Okay. And people who have watched the recording, they will also understand it. Okay. So here, this is what we have selected. Then what did I tell you? That application gateway, it is not a global service. It is a regional service. If I'm creating it in East US2, and if US2 is down, then my application gateway is down. However, do we have any sort of redundancy? Yes, we have a slight redundancy, which is zonal redundancy. So what I can do, though I will not get the region level redundancy कि पूरा region down हो जाए तो service फिर भी up रहे, that is not possible. But what I can have is zonal level redundancy, that these machines I can have one in zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. I hope you guys remember zonal redundancy. Right? What is a zonal redundancy? That you can have your virtual machine in multiple zones. So even if one zone, one data center in that city is down, other two are working. So similarly, it will happen with your application gateway. Understand, guys, this setting we are not talking about your backend machines. Okay? We are not discussing your backend machines here. We are discussing the redundancy of your application gateway. And you don't have to do anything other than selecting here. ये machine का creation, etc. Everything will be taken care by Azure because this is a PaaS service, platform as a service. So is this clear?
Yes.
In this case, I'm going to take only one zone. We don't require any zonal redundancy. IP type, we are only dealing with IPv4. HTTP2, letter B, we are not worried about it. We are still dealing with HTTP. WAF policy, right? So in this case, I have created a policy. Hence, I'm going to select this policy. We have already seen the policies when we checked Azure Firewall, this one, session. Now, virtual network. It has to be the same virtual network where your machines are, unless you are doing a VNet pairing, but that is not the case today. So I'm selecting the same virtual network. Now, this is very important because I have already created a gateway, hence we did not get any error. Otherwise, you will get an error here that you required a dedicated subnet. This is what you will see. Subnet must only have application gateway. So in virtual network, Even if you have 10 subnets and all of those 10 subnets have one virtual machine or one storage account or any resource, you will not be able to use those one of those 10 subnets. You will have to create another 11th subnet or jitne bhi. If you have two, you will have to create a third subnet. You have four, you'll have to create a fifth subnet, which is a dedicated subnet for application gateway. But in this case, can you give me one more example of dedicated subnet, by the way, uh, on on whatever we have worked on?
Azure Bastion
Right.
subnet.
So what was the condition of that passion subnet?
The
One
It
condition
is
is
condition
a
that
name
it
name
should be a
specific.
specific.
dedicated. When I say dedicated, what does it mean? That no other resource can host on it. We cannot have a storage account. We cannot have a virtual machine. We cannot have anything on that subnet other than Bastion, right? That is first condition. What is the next condition of that subnet?
It is
Name
name
Name.
specific.
specific.
Name. It has to be name specific. Yes. Another example of dedicated subnet?
Your
Gateway
firewall
subnet.
subnet.
Gateway
Gateway
subnet. Yes. Similar. It has to have a specific
firewall.
name, cannot have. And one last one. We checked one more. Someone already answered that, by the way.
Azure
Firewall
firewall
subnet.
subnet.
Azure
Firewall.
firewall.
Perfect. Again, it cannot have anything other than firewall and it has to have the correct name. So we have the exact same condition with the slightest difference. Here we need a dedicated subnet जिसके ऊपर कुछ और नहीं हो सकता other than your application gateway. However, it doesn't have any naming convention. So I have named it as app gateway, but you can name it whatever you want. इसमें नाम का आपका कंडीशन नहीं है, but it has to be dedicated. If I create an app gateway subnet और उसमें मैं एक virtual machine install कर दूं and then I try to use that subnet here, you will not be able to do it. Got it, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Now, can anyone guess what are we going to host in this subnet? इस सबनेट में बनने क्या वाला है? Now look at this. I have taken 26 cider, which means we are getting enough IPs here, right? One more condition we have here. We cannot go ahead and take 27 से छोटा वाला cider नहीं ले सकते. You can't take 28 or 29. You have to have 27 or bigger. And I hope you understand when the number is smaller, cider is bigger. So if I have taken 26, it is a bigger than 27, right? आई होप यू रिमेंबर दैट कॉन्सेप्ट कि 26 लिया है मतलब 27 से ज्यादा आईपी मिलेंगे. इफ आई टेक 25 साइडर आई एम गेटिंग more IPs than cider 27 and 26. So what I mean here that you cannot take cider which is uh, more than 27. We cannot take 28. We cannot take 29 because there we are getting less IPs. Here we are getting more IPs. But can someone tell me what kind of machines we are going to host here or what resources we are going to host here? We as in we are not doing that, but what do you think ये क्यों काम में आएगा?
The number of users whenever the load
Hello?
increases, then
Application gateway will be hosted.
Sorry?
Application gateway will be hosted in this. So one IP will be generated for application gateway.
Not really. Application gateway के लिए तो हम public IP देंगे and then we will
Will
give
be,
one
I mean,
private IP.
one
But yes,
particular IP will be.
but for one particular IP, why will be there a request that you have to have a 27? अगर एक ही IP चाहिए होता तो वो तो 29 में भी मिल जाता. They have created this specific requirement because these machines which we were discussing, if you use auto scaling, right? If I go here and auto check auto scaling, let me see what is the look at this. I can have 125 machines maximum, right? So these 125 machines, they should have IP address. That is the reason they require this subnet, a dedicated subnet. Got it, guys? Though no one is going to ask you
yes,
this in
yes.
your interview, but this is just for your information. So you can explain it in a better manner. And now let's go to front end. Similarly, what we have front end in load balancer, we have the same front end here. We can add a public IP. In this case, we can have both public and private IP as well. Got it? In this case, we have both, but no one uses application gateway for private IP. No one. We can only go with private IP as well. However, you'll have to go with standard. WAF version 2 doesn't support private IP. Got it? So if you want private IP, you'll have to go with standard. Or either you can go with both or you can go with public. But this is what you will see normally. This is what you can say in your interview. No one uses application gateway. It's one of the costliest resource. No one uses that for internal traffic. So you'll always go ahead with public. So this is your public IP like we had here, where like we had in load balancer. But what is the difference, guys, between load balancer and here? I told you this yesterday.
SSL tier.
No, no, no,
Certificate.
no. We haven't even on this page I'm talking about. वो तो बहुत सारे differences है वैसे. I'm specifically talking about front end IP. What is the difference between application gateway front end IP and load balancer front end IP?
Private IP can be assigned to a load balancer.
Specifically public IP I'm talking about. Anyone, guys? If you're forgetting these small things, it will be very difficult. I emphasized on that thing yesterday. Watch the recording if you don't trust me. Yes, anyone? Can I have multiple public IPs in load balancer?
Yes, we can.
Can I have
Yes.
multiple
Yes.
public IPs in application gateway?
Yes. No.
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 Application gateway we can one.
Yes, so this is the difference. Right? Please make sure you remember, guys. You will have to speak about these differences. See, you guys complain. I mean, not to me and not you as in general. Just talking in general terms. Guys, people complain that we don't get to work on projects, so we don't know how to speak. We don't know what to talk about project. Now, this is the opportunity. I'm sharing these information with you, so you can portray that you have worked. And trust me, try it once if you want. Try watching multiple videos on application gateway and you will not get these differences. The ultimate differences which you're going to get on website on YouTube videos, they will simply hand it over this table to you, which I have already given it to you. But apart from this, why are we doing this in detail? Why am I explaining this on every screen? So you should be able to do it properly. You should be able to understand it properly and you should be able to explain it properly. And when you explain it in this manner, see here nowhere it is written about the public IP, right? That how many public IPs you can have, how many public IPs you can have there. So if you talk about these differences, your interviewer will understand that you have really worked on some project. You won't even have to say it. Right? So make sure you remember these details, guys. So public IP, we can have only one on application gateway. We can have multiple on load balancer. Backend, it's similar to our load balancer. The only difference we have here, what is the difference in load balancer backend and this backend?
In load balancer backend, we have Nick as an option as well. Yeah, I think we are getting just the IP.
No, not that. This is again NIC and IP, it's same thing. You go by NIC, you go by IP, you have IP here, you have machines also, you have virtual machine scale set also. All these three things are similar. The difference which you have here is you get
No.
app services, which you do not get in load balancer. Right? Remember this one. You get app services which you do not get in load balancer. What is app services? I've showed it to you yesterday. Though we did not cover that as a topic, but I just showed it to you, right? What is a app service? But here, one good thing for you to understand, when I'm going to add a backend pool, if I'm adding one virtual machine, can I have a combination of one virtual machine and one app service? What do you think? See, two virtual machines, definitely I can have. Three, four virtual machines, I can have. Or maybe two app services, definitely I can have. My question is, can I have two virtual machines and two app services? Is it possible? Anyone knows or can guess? Now you will not understand, you will not know everything, not even today. Uh, Even after completing the sessions, completing the classes, after 2 or 3 years of experience, even I cannot claim I know everything. Right? But you have to guess a few things by understanding, by looking at the nature of these services. So whatever we have learned till today, based on that, what do you think? Can we have one virtual machine and one app service in the backend?
Yes, we can have.
Okay, yes, we can have, but not from here. See, if I select an app service, I will get the error message here that you cannot add one app service and one backend service using the portal. It has to be using your, I mean, as of now, I don't have any app service. The moment I add something, it can be done using PowerShell. Okay, here it is. I got the error. See, adding a virtual machine, VMSS, IP address, or fully qualified domain name to a backend pool that's containing an app service, it's possible by using PowerShell, but not using Azure portal. So it is possible. However, you will have to use PowerShell. How to do it? We don't have to worry about it. No one is going to ask you the PowerShell command in an interview session. Got it? But it is possible using your PowerShell session. Got it, guys? Any combination you want to do, PowerShell. But if you want to keep all of them same, yes, you can do it using Portal. So this is how you can add your backend pool. I've added the backend pool. Click on next configuration. So now we have our front end IP, we have our backend pool. In load balancer, the moment I use front end IP, I was able to create it. Rules and backend, I had an option to come back and create it. But in application gateway, we have to create everything while creating the application gateway. Right? So I'm adding some rules here. So this one I can name as my website rule. Can I host RDP here? Can I use application gateway for RDP load balancing?
No.
No, it is only for web traffic. Right? Now here, this is very important, guys. Core questions you will get on this portion. So please be focused. Ask questions if you don't understand. Now priority here, we don't have in load balancer. Here we have priority. So if two rules are contradicting each other, then the rule which has lesser number of priority that will have more weightage. And I think we have between 1 to 20,000. So if I create one rule using 10 and a same rule contradicting that using 12, so the rule which has 10 number that will have weightage on the other rule. So I'm giving the name, giving the priority, and now listener. What is the listener? Why do we have listener? Isn't our public IP a good listener for us? What do you understand by listener, by the way? Listener is someone who's accepting the request, who's listening the request. But isn't that our public IP? पब्लिक आईपी ही तो हमारा लिसनर है राइट बट अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग गाइस दैट this is practice, hence I'm giving you IP addresses, hence I'm telling you कि यार ये मेरा IP address है check करो whether whether you are reaching VM1 VM2. When we did load balancer also I gave you my public IP, but in real environment no one will share the IP address. They will do the DNS setting and then they will do the uh, mapping with their domain name. For example, I can use this public IP in DNS and I can map it to UT-Kloud.in. And then I will ask you guys to uh, check UT-Kloud.in and see if load balancer or application gateway is working or not, right? But here in application gateway, we have a feature which is called multi-site, which is again not there in your load balancer, right? In load balancer, I can host only one website. But here I can have multiple websites. I can have multiple websites here. So when we go to multi-site, instead of basic, if I go to multi-site, I can have utcloud.in, right? And I can have tsoft.in. I can have two of them. I can create two rules. I can have two rules here, right? But do I have multiple IP addresses?
No.
No, only one public IP addresses, only one public IP address, but multiple websites. So this is what a listener means. That if someone is trying with utcloud.in, पब्लिक आईपी एक ही है, बट व्हाट यू टाइप इन योर एड्रेस, उससे यह सारी चीजें जो है यहाँ पर डिफाइन होगी. इफ यू टाइप utcloud.in, देन ये सेटिंग्स चेंज होगी, ये सेटिंग्स अप्लाई होगी. इफ यू क्लाउड टी सॉफ्ट, देन द अदर सेटिंग्स विल गेट अप्लाइड, which I will create for tsoft. That is the reason we have listener. So listener का मतलब होता है that what are you typing in your browser, whatever you are typing in your browser, that is my listener. ठीक, if I'm creating basic, it's okay, then ये सब की जरूरत ही नहीं होती. But do I have an option, because I have a feature of hosting multiple websites, hence we have this feature of listener. ठीक है. So as of now we am just configuring the first one. Again we are dealing with IPv4, HTTP or HTTPS. We have done this thoroughly in yesterday's session. So if I had an HTTPS traffic, right? I will select it here. The moment I select HTTPS, what is my requirement? What will I need, guys? To host a
Certificate.
certificate, right? So see, the moment I click here, it asks me to upload a certificate. We don't have the certificate now, so we are not going to do that right away, right? We had other day's certificate, but we don't have right now, and I don't even want to deal with that because I'll have to configure a website according to that certificate. So we don't want to go ahead with that. Let me see if I can upload one certificate. Though website is not going to work because here the name is different, everything is different. That is not going to work. This is not the way certificate works. But just to show you, I can upload a certificate like this. Okay. Password will be there. Every certificate will have a password. I'll have to type a password here of that certificate. And this is how I can configure my HTTPS website. But we are not doing that now. We are going with HTTP. What is this called, guys? When I have uploaded the certificate here, so whenever an encrypted traffic which is coming from browser, like username and password, that will be encrypted, right? Because now I have a, a secure website, and that will be decrypted here. And the next traffic which will go from application gateway to my server, this will be decrypted traffic. The traffic generated here in browser, you type your user ID and password, that was encrypted with a certificate because I have purchased a certificate. So that encrypted traffic came here. Now I have uploaded the same certificate here, the lock of that key or key of that lock. So it will be decrypted here. And now this decrypted traffic is flowing here till my server. So my server doesn't have to decrypt anything. Simply my server can reply it. So what is this setup called?
SSL. SSL termination.
Yes, not SSL. It is called SSL termination. Correct. But if I tell you that I want end-to-end encryption, then what is the next step you have to do?
We need to install certificate on backend.
Exactly. You
Oh,
be as in आप as an Azure administrator आपको करना भी नहीं है.
yeah.
You simply have to install the
But the
certificate here.
yeah.
But there is one more thing then. यहाँ पर तो आपने डिसाइड कर लिया that it is coming on 443, right? अब यहाँ से यहाँ पर ट्रैफिक 80 पे जाएगा या 443 पे जाएगा, ये कहाँ पर आपने कॉन्फ़िगर किया है? Have you done
443
that?
पे ही जाएगा. No, we haven't done any setting
No, so why
in the portal.
how are you sure कि 443 पे जाएगा? Just because you have a certificate here?
Yeah.
No. See, you having a certificate here or you don't have it, your listener don't know. You'll have to tell it to them. Just because you have a
Okay.
certificate here, it won't take you to 443. In fact, on application gateway also, just because I'm uploading a certificate, इसलिए यहाँ पर नहीं आ रहा. Because I told them to come to 443, hence it is asking me the certificate. Certificate is not the first step. Certificate लगा दिया इसलिए 443 कुछ नहीं होगा. आप 443 लगाओगे इसलिए वो certificate मांगेगा. You decide HTTP or HTTPS. यू आर नॉट अपलोडिंग, सी यहाँ पर सर्टिफिकेट अपलोड कर रहे हो एंड देन HTTP HTTPS सेलेक्ट हो रहा है, दैट इज नॉट द केस. यू आर डिसाइडिंग वेदर दिस इज HTTP or HTTPS. If HTTPS, then you have to upload the certificate. If HTTP, then you don't have to upload the certificate. तो आपके पास सर्टिफिकेट है या नहीं है यहाँ पर तो पता भी नहीं है. You are selecting HTTPS, then it is asking for certificate. Is this clear, guys, to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
But this setting, this is a listener setting. This is between, whenever I say listener, this listener is between your end users and your application gateway. ये setting की बात चल रही है अब. But what about application gateway to your backend? Yeah.
Backend setting.
Yes. Here it is. We have backend settings, guys. Backend target. पहले तो target आपको select करना है. We have already created backend pool. So I'm selecting a backend pool. Now, what are the backend settings? So I can create a new setting. I click here. And when I select this new setting, give a name here. And here it is. If you want end-to-end encryption, then you select HTTPS. Got it, guys?
If I don't want end to end, then we can ignore the
Select
backend
HTTP.
settings, right?
Simple. Yes, select
Okay.
HTTP.
But
If you don't want,
it is mandated to do some setting in the
yes,
backend.
yes, backend setting has
Because
to be
if
there.
I'm okay,
It won't take anything by default. You will have to do it, right?
okay.
So either you want HTTP or HTTPS, you'll have to select here. So when you do HTTPS, how many certificates do you need? One certificate you need on your server. ठीक है. Now in this case, first let me ask you one question. ये कितने certificates use हो रहे हैं इस केस में? Application gateway ये traffic में how many certificates are being used? Till here, not going till
Three
backend now. No,
on the
One
forget.
front end.
certificate.
I'm not talking about end to
One
end.
certificate.
Till, is it only one?
Only one
Yes, one
certificate.
certificate.
No. One certificate I am uploading at my application gateway. Right? ये इसको decrypt करेगा. Encrypt जो करेगा उसमें certificate नहीं लग रहा है. Didn't I
Yes,
explain
yes.
it yesterday?
At
That
client side.
all your browsers will have this certificate because this certificate I have purchased from GoDaddy. So it is their job कि all browsers should have that certificate. Otherwise ये encrypt कैसे हो रहा है? ये जो ब्राउजर में आप ये कर रहे हो, कुछ यहाँ पर टाइप कर रहे हो यूजर आईडी पासवर्ड, हाउ इज इट बीइंग एनक्रिप्टेड? यहाँ पर भी एक सर्टिफिकेट है आपका, इट इज बीइंग एनक्रिप्टेड एंड ये सर्टिफिकेट है यहाँ को यहाँ पर इसको डिक्रिप्ट करने के लिए. इज इट क्लियर गाइस टिल हियर?
Yes.
Okay, only 30 seconds are left in this session. Let me stop and let's join immediately so we don't break the rhythm. Without any break, I'm starting immediately.